So today what we're gonna do is quick review. I always like to have some review, not really long. And I will talk about resource leveling. We'll talk about schedule compression. Okay. And we'll talk about fast tracking and crashing. These are both techniques for schedule compression. Okay. So fast tracking and crashing. And then we will have hands-on activities and everything. Let's see what else I have. Okay. All right, resource leveling. Let's talk about resource leveling. What is it, and why do you need it? Probably you heard resource leveling. Sometimes you may have people resource. Sometimes you need to have money. Sometimes maybe you are renting a machinery, maybe a product line, maybe a warehouse, maybe a clean lab, right? Maybe a supercomputer that can process maybe simulations or data faster, right? These are all resources. And in your project, there will be times that maybe more people or more teams want to use it, right? Maybe in your PERT, there will be some moments that when you get an X-ray, when you get a snapshot, more people might be working on that machine, or maybe you have a software engineer. And then in some parts of the activities in your PERT, maybe more than one node need designer. So all these things requires you to look at your activities and try to understand where is the overload, right? Or maybe there might be in this long project, right? There might be, why do we need it? We need it because we have one designer. We need it because we have one machine. We have only one lab, one meeting room, and all these things. Okay. That's resource leveling. So that makes you look at your resources and level them. And sometimes you need more to do this kind of stuff because, you know, your CEO will say, what's the probability of completing the project? 42 hours or less. What is the percentage? What's the probability of completing a project? 50%. Yes. So you can maybe finish it earlier or not, right? 50%. And you know the math behind it now. And please do this on your own, and you're going to find it's 50% when you apply it, when you find the variables and you apply it to Z table, and you're going to find it's really 50%. And what is the probability of completing it earlier, right? Your CEO, your program manager, your portfolio manager will ask you these questions. Or they will say, tell me a time duration that you are 95% confident that you're going to finish that time, because they will make contracts with some marketing companies. They will create some websites, right? They're going to give due date to software engineers or whoever, right? Website designers. And they will say, okay, by this time, website needs to be ready, right? So these are all coordinated in the companies, right? We don't want to work in silos. We want to work collaboratively, right? We don't want to work in silos. And the thing is, sometimes it's not only your only project and your PERT, right? So it's not only your PERT as well. So in the company, there will be multiple projects in multiple teams. Okay. So that is even tricky, but this is the hard part because project managers don't talk. They will plan the designer for the same week, probably, maybe, right? So they will not talk to each other. They will not talk to each other with every details, and they will just plan their PERT like they are the only project in the whole company and the entire business. Okay, and maybe a few of the nodes will overlap in 1 week, requiring designers, and we cannot just cut the designer half and help both projects, right? We have to level the resources. Okay. If you need a refresher, please look at the previous slides, okay, and sessions. But here's the same slide. This is how you find the standard deviation. I like to find it. I enjoy finding it. And the reason is I really enjoy finding this because I put this here, right? And This is already known, right? You put this here. And then who gives me this? Who gives me this? 120. So your boss gives this one, right? And say, okay, how about I give you 13 more days? I expect you finish 120, 1 hour, whatever is this, 100 days and 120 days or hours or whatever, right? So this boss gives me, so I like to know this, which I can find. I know this one already, right? From the historical values where we started before the PERT, we had the Simpsons rule and everything. And then when boss tells me a number, I can look it up and I can tell them something mathematically. They don't need to know what I'm doing, but they want my result to be credible and doable, achievable, right? So I gotta do these things. And we'll look it up in Z table. Okay. So CEO will also say, can you complete it earlier? Can you do it quicker? Right? Now it's tricky, right? Can you complete it earlier? What do I need to do to complete it earlier? And we alluded this a little bit at the end of the previous session. What can I do to complete it earlier? I can delete some tasks if I can, right? I can, what else can I do? I can change some nature of some of the tasks, right? I can give more time if I have. I can add more people if I can. Yep. Make people work longer hours. Oh, I don't like it. Because then there will be accidents, there will be injuries. Okay. So that is tricky. Okay. How quicker can you deliver? We also know this a little bit. Is there a duration where you can deliver 100% on time? What do you need to make it faster? I like this CEO really. Look at this. She's even asking, what do you need to make it faster? Nobody asked this question. People think that I have a magic wand and then I can do it like Harry Potter, right? We don't. We know the tools and techniques. We have the knowledge in the background, math. Maybe you are using some project management software, some simulation, but no one has a magic wand, okay? What do you need to make it faster? Oh my goodness, this is the best CEO. I guess he owns a bank or something, okay? He wants to give me some money or some people, Excellent. I like this question more, but I'm cautioning you. You're not gonna hear this more often. You rarely hear this. Even though you ask this question, they will not hear it. Okay. They will listen to you, but they will not hear you. Do you know the difference between listening and hearing? And plus understanding, right? So yeah, you're not gonna get this one much. Okay. But even though this CEO doesn't ask us, what do we need? What do we need to do? So say the CEO is not asking this, okay? She's not asking this. What do we need to do? I'm just doing this so that you remember, okay? Just exaggerating a little bit. It's not because I don't like drawing. I like drawing, but I'm just exaggerating a little. Okay, she's not asking this question. What do we do? Maybe we are into the program, like we have already completed some activities. Maybe we are halfway, right? That's when the schedule compression comes into play. Like that's when we start talking about it in the meetings, right? Because in the beginning, we do the PERT and everything, and we plan out. But schedule compression is not something that we talk in the beginning. It comes up when we need it. Okay, it's what we show, what I told you in the PERT, right? When you are coming up with the durations of activities, please put some buffer because your manager will put some buffer, the company will put some buffer. So you have your buffer built in your final delivery day. But don't tell others. Don't tell even your team. Like maybe your team is okay, like, but others don't say you have a buffer, okay? Because then people will eat it out, will eat up your buffer, okay? Okay, she's not asking us, what do we do? Okay. Let's say I'm your CEO. Okay. I'm asking, can you complete it earlier? Boom, you answered it. How quicker can you do it? Boom, you answered it because you know the math, right? You have the PERT and everything, the expertise. Is there a duration that you can deliver 100% on time for sure? Boom, you answered it. But the last question, she's not asking. She's not asking you, what do you need? What do you do? But what do we do? We go to doctor when we feel sick, when we feel sick, right? I mean, nobody's asking every day if you are sick, and they don't need to. Okay. But if they want us to deliver it quicker, even though they don't ask, what do we need? We have to communicate. That's where comes the soft skill sessions. Okay. So we have to communicate. We have to so she asked us, we went back to our team, we did some, tricks, as you know, and then we came up with, we need $10,000 in 10 more weeks. In the next presentation to her in the company meeting, we'll say, we are asked to deliver, this quick or 100% for sure. And we did the math and we did our homework, and boom, here's the slide, and some extra slides in case they have questions, like put your PERT in the extra slides, like backup slides, and put your cost estimation, cost calculation in the backup slides. You don't need to show that. Just show it. 10 weeks, that's what we need. $10,000, that's what we need in order to make it happen. And then CEO will say, oh, no, I don't have 10 weeks. Customer is waiting. Well, if you don't have 10 weeks, we can do it, right? So we have to communicate. We have to communicate. They don't necessarily ask, like doctors, right? They don't call us every day and ask us if we are sick. Okay. If they want you to complete it quicker, you got to tell them what they needed, because no manager will like someone who agrees with everything she says. Can you do it quicker? Yes, we can. Well, if you agree with everything, that's not the way to go. You shouldn't agree with everything. That shows that you don't trust in yourself. You don't have the expertise. You're just trying to keep your job, which you will be fired sooner, because people will really find out that you are a people pleaser and you're just saying yes to everything, and you don't really have expertise and scientific background to back up your judgments or your calculations, estimations. They will quickly find out, and nobody wants to walk with you anymore. Do you understand what I mean? It's kind of like real life experience and everything I'm mixing up here. Okay. All right. So the moral of the story, if they are not asking, we got to tell them anyways. Right. Resource leveling. Just look at your labor peaks and valleys. I put here labor, but again, it can be a lab, it can be money, right? All these things. And try to eliminate these peaks and valleys in your resource picture. This is another picture. Okay. It's not PERT or anything. Now you're looking at your PERT and deciding your resources, and then trying to find out if the designer is booked multiple projects in one day or half day, whatever is. We are the ideal situation, right? The ideal situation. What is the ideal situation? You don't want to spend any money, right? You don't want to cause a schedule slip. Is that right? Most probably things will cost more money. Things will cost more time, which is schedule slip most of the time. Okay. It's a small project or whatever. Yeah, it's fine. Maybe not, but bigger projects, good projects, it's going to cause some things. Okay. So it's your CEO needs you to come up with some expertise to tell them where to start, right? I think it was Steve Jobs, from Steve Jobs. So one of the interview, I guess he said, we want to hire people. We are not hiring people to tell them what to do. We hire people to tell us what to do. Okay, we don't hire people to tell them what to do. We hire people to tell us what to do. That's why they hire you, right? To tell them what to do. So let's say you understand your project needed to complete earlier. Things you will need more time and more money to compress it. And maybe when I say time, it may be tricky. So I shouldn't say time because we're trying to schedule the time, right? Like compress the schedule. But more often than not, end date moves out and additional costs are incurred. So your CEO needs you to tell them where to start. Okay. So they will say, where do we start? There's like 20 activities. I'm trying to get my mouse here. Wait, my mouse. Yes. So I'm trying to, the project is installing the sprinkler system in my backyard, right? So what is this? This is WBS, right? This is WBS. So I gotta design the yard. It takes 4 hours, and that's activity 1.1. I gotta purchase supplies. I gotta acquire equipment, right? I gotta rent a trencher. I gotta what? This is not that one. I gotta also purchase tools, right? Another sub project is preparing the yard. I gotta clear the trash and weeds and fill holes and rake the yard, right? And then I gotta dig the trenches, and you can see the numbers, right? And hours associated with it. Let's say I'm just doing this myself and my son. So yeah, these are the things, right? WBS. Okay, good. So this is the PERT for that WBS. Okay, for that WBS. You can see the critical path. What are those? What are the dashed lines? These are the dummy activities, remember? Dummy activities. Yeah. Anyways, that's my PERT. And these are my activity durations, right? And I find out that this red is the critical path. So, so that's my resource leveling based on that PERT. Okay, that PERT. That's what you need to do. So here's what it is. So designing the yard. Let's look at this one. Designing the yard, 4 hours, right? And then purchasing the materials, it takes me 2 hours, but this empty boxes mean it's slack time, right? In this picture, it shows the slack time. For example, rent the trencher. I can rent it here. It takes just 1 hour. Hop in the car or bike to Home Depot and then get it, right? 1 hour. So I can get it in this time, or this time, or this time, or this time. I can't do this here because the other activities are starting, right? I gotta dig dig with a trencher. To get the trencher, to dig with a trencher, I gotta purchase it. If I don't have it, right? Let's assume I don't have it. That's why it stops there. So you have the slack time to move forward and backward a little bit. That's where we will use our resource leveling. Okay, that's how we will do it. So let's take a snapshot. Okay, so it's me and my 14 years old son. Okay, so let's take a snapshot. This is the 4th hour of the project, right? So what I did over here in the blocks, like a Tetris, right? What I did is looking at the labor. This is 1 hour labor. Okay, basically one cube is 1 hour. One square is 1 hour labor. So when I take a snapshot for the 3rd hour of my project, and I just brought everything down as 1 square, right? Because there's only one here. I just collapsed that one down. Do you understand what I mean? Let's take this one, 23rd. What's happening? I want to see what's happening in the 23rd hour of my project. Okay, me and my son is doing. And every square is a manpower, a labor. 23. What's happening here? Look, there's 1 hour labor here, 1 hour labor here, 1 hour labor here. And as you can see, I have 3 blocks over here. What does that mean? 2 people working at this project. I have 3 cubes collapsed on that resource data, let's say. More labor is needed than you have. Yes, I need 3 labor hours. I have only 2 because it's me and my son. Let's say my son does something and I do another thing. Let's say, what is it? Connect to water is this one. Install the timer, install the pipe and fittings, right? Let's say I do the connect to water, and my son does the install the timer. Who does the installing the pipe and fittings? There's no one to do it, right? So what do I do at this time, 23rd? Well, if I move this block, let's erase this. If I move this block, because this is the slack time, right? The empty squares are black slack times. So if I move this box over here, like this, what happens to 23rd? Now there will be only 2 blocks, which I moved this one. So now my son can do install the timer and I can do install the pipes, right? Everything is on track. But if I don't see that such, if I don't move from my PERT to resource table, I can't necessarily see it. But are we done? No, because now I have a problem over here. Again, I move this, right? So I move this, I need 3 people here as well. Not necessarily 3 people, 3 labor hours. Okay. Well, then what do? I may move this to here. Then 24th is good. I will be 2. But this time here, I will need 1 more. If you move it over here, I guess, right? Delete this. Now collapse this. It collapses to 2. This is gone. This is gone. How many hours here? 2, 2. Even here it's 2, right? Even here, now I need another one, but that's fine because my son can do it, right? My son can do it. I will have another one. I will not need anything else. So this is fine. The rest is fine, right? Did you see how I eliminated this peak? That's an easy example, but that's basically the philosophy of it. But how you do it, it's not as easy as this. Okay. But you got this one, right? You got the resource leveling idea. So you look at the labors and then you look at your lab or designer, how many hours she's booked, and then you try to use the slack time to make it. Why do I use the slack time, guys? Why do I, for example, this one? Can I move this or this anywhere? Instead of this, let's move, fill the holes and rake the yard. And you will say, no, sir, no, ma'am, we can't move it because then it's going to delay the project. If you are okay with it, we can move it because there are activities in the on the critical path that we can do it. Okay, good. So explaining, I try to explain everything that I know to my managers. Why you want to explain everything you can to your manager whenever you get a chance? Even sometimes when they know it, they don't need it. Why do you want to explain them? Little by little, not teaching, but yeah, little by little. It helps them understand your decisions. It builds up trust. You should trust her, right? Okay. And they will also say, you will also educate them. And next time when they will ask you more intelligent questions, more questions that will challenge you as well. They will challenge you, and then overall productivity will increase, right? They will challenge you and say, okay, that's why asking questions is very, very important. So you will educate them, you will build trust, they will build trust on you, they will contribute to your decision, they will ask you intelligent questions, and they will trust you, they will promote you, they will give you more project, more responsibility. Okay. And by the way, you are not always presenting one-to-one. Usually these things happen in a larger meeting where the finance guys are there, marketings are there, and you will build trust to your department as well. Like you are in the quality department, in the manufacturing, wherever you are, people will say, oh, this manufacturing department is really good. This is some perception as well. So explain as needed, not everything, and not in the technical jargon. Explain simple terms, okay? Explain. What if that is not enough? If that's not as easy as this? So we talked about it a little bit. So then compress your schedule, which means you can delete some parts, right? You can substitute them. You can parallelize some activities. You can shorten them. Look at the activities, why they are so long. You can say, I can do this 7 weeks. I can reduce it to 6 weeks, and I don't need any money because this was already your buffer, right? So that's good. For example, let's go back to let's go. So for example, acquire equipment and tools. If you please observe carefully here. Look, I gave 2 hours, 2 labor hours to renting the trencher, purchasing the tools. Well, maybe if I decide to go one shop and buy everything at one time, maybe I can reduce this 1 hour, right? And I can combine these 2 tasks over here because I can, instead of going both shops, I can go one shop and just buy everything there. Okay. Parallelization of activities, we'll see that, and shortening them, adding more resources. Of course, who doesn't like resources? We should give them off Monday or something. Like we have to tell them, we need you now, but we will compensate your time later. But we shouldn't necessarily make them work 15 hours for 1 week. That's not good. Yeah, just get ready for risks and injuries and death, okay? Then you crash the project. Okay? Do you think there are risks to compression? Sure, that's what we talked about it, right? The quality, the errors, people will make errors, right? Customer scope, you're gonna scope, maybe skip some scope questions. Maybe you are designing a website and the customer doesn't really see the speed or how clumsy is the software running in the background. They don't really feel those things, and you can make some tricks there, but that's not good, right? In the long term, they're gonna start complaining. Additional resources, who doesn't, right? Rework and safety. If you are anybody's quality expert, yeah, quality is a big thing. You'll rework and there will be safety issues, jobs. People will leave your company, right? If you always work like this, if they have another choice, they will go for it. Understand the crash and cost relationship. What do I mean here? It makes sense. Like if you put more money, I guess, right? You can complete it earlier. You can shorten the activity probably, right? You can just hire another designer on the spot, like a contractor for a week, and then they can work together, and then you can compress the work, right? So cost and crashing relationship. And maybe some activities, completing them early will cost a lot of more money. So if you want to complete them earlier, some of them will require a lot of money, when some others of the activities will not require that much money. So that's where you will advise your CEO, hey, we should start from this activity because of that. Okay. So for example, 2 things. One is crashing. One is fast tracking. So in the schedule compression umbrella, there's 2 things. One, fast tracking. The other one is crashing. Fast tracking is basically if you have DFG like this, you move to this. So what we do is now we do F and G in parallel, hoping that we complete the work earlier. We reach the E, which is the destination, the delivery earlier, right? In the previous one, F needed to wait D, G needed to completion of F, right? But in this picture, when you are done with D, F and G start, and then hopefully they work in parallel, they are done in parallel, and then that's why the project completes earlier. That's fast tracking. That's fast. So we're not necessarily putting more money, we're not necessarily getting more designers or anything. Just like I did, I can move this over here and now my son and I can do it. Right? We don't need anyone else. So that's fast tracking. So basically what I did in the sprinkler example was fast tracking. Okay. It can be more complex though. It can be more complex. Usually red shows us the critical path. Okay. When you just add the critical path, you got the final duration, which is 33. So which activities make sense to fast track? Why do you want to complete some of them earlier? Which one of them, if you can? Where do you look first? Yes, critical path. You want to look at the activities in the critical path, on the critical path. Why? Well, it's very obvious by now, because if they are delayed, the project will be delayed. Well, by the way, guess what? If you complete them earlier, the project will be delivered earlier, and that's what the CEO wants it, right? So they want to complete it earlier. So first thing I want to look at it is the critical path. So that if I can see which ones can I complete earlier with less money, probably, hopefully, right? It's the company's money, but still, right? Your performance needs to be good to spend less money anyways. So you look at the critical path, look at which one is less costly, and you can actually shorten more. I mean, if you want to spend $1,000 and schedule compression 1 day, well, instead of that, you want to spend $1,000 on another activity on the critical path and maybe compress it 2 days. Well, same money, same result, well, better result really, and shorten more. And so the project duration will be shortened more. So look at the critical path. Which activity can you complete very early, like earlier than others, and less money? Okay. So to do that, what do we need to do? Well, we got to know how much is it now and how much will it take to crash it? How much will it cost to crash it, right? So please tell me, how long is this project? 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes, 23. Okay, good. Where would you start? If does it change the length of the project, the duration of the project, if a new activity G is added between C and E with a duration of 24 hours? This is in days, by the way. Okay, the PERT is in days. I want to add an activity between C and E, which will last 24 hours. How much of a schedule slip will be observed? If yes, everyone says no. So this is something like that, right? So I just add this here, and that's a dummy activity. E needs to be done. G needs to be done before E starts, okay? So it doesn't affect, okay. In terms of crashing, what do I need to know? Well, I gotta know how much is at each activity. That's why WBS, now go back to your WBS and then see what was your original estimates and put them here, right? And PERT is not identical to your WBS, so you need to do a little bit work. Like activity A may contain a few items from WBS, so add them up and then write it here. Okay, so it's not identical, so you need to do a little bit intermediate work to come up with this. So attach dollar amounts to each activity. Okay, so that's what we need to do. I'm not going to show you how to do it, so you can do it just looking at the WBS. But another thing we need to do is we need to know how much we can compress that activity and how much will it cost, right? So these are the numbers that you need to obtain, you need to gather, you need to have. How much is the activity now? How much can I compress this activity? How much would it cost me to compress it? We gotta know this. So in your project, you gotta know how much will it cost you now? How much can you compress? And how much will it cost you to compress? Because you want to know where to start. That's what the CEO is asking. He wants to know where to start. Okay, because he's really keen on delivering it earlier. Of another company, creating this similar product and everything. So you gotta get this table from somewhere. I'm giving you now here this, but in real life, you are the one to create this. If they don't know, you gotta come up with this table. Okay, so what do I have in this table? So I have the activities over here, which are A, B, C, and D, like in the previous slide. Okay, and these are the critical path because I put it in red, right? I put them in red, and I already know how long do they take, right? Because that's how I did the WBS and how I did the PERT and how I found out the select time and how I found out delivery, project overall delivery time, delivery duration. But I didn't think about the cost at that time much, right? Because PERT only gives me the schedule, not the cost. But now my CEO is asking to make it shorter, deliver it in quicker. So I need to think about cost. So what I need to know here is, what did I tell you? How much can I compress and how much will it cost me? Okay, so let's see. So let's say I can crash time 4 down to 2, right? 5 down to, 6 down to 5, 7 down to 5, 6 down to 3. So you cannot just make it 0, right? There will be some physical things that you need to do, right? That's why you have this crash time. Maybe the simulation is running for a week. You never know. Maybe somebody needs to fly somewhere. It will take time. So that means I can do 4 down to 2, 6 down to 5, 7 down to 5, 6 down to 3. Why am I not bothering with C and D? Well, I am bothering with them too, right? I can do 2 down to 1 and 2 down to 1. Okay. So, and this is my crash cost. What does that mean? When I crash this, let's say activity A, when I crash it from 4 to 2, my cost will increase from 10 to 14. When I crash B, I can do from 6 weeks to 5 weeks. And normally it's $30,000. Now it's going to cost me $42,500. As I said, you know the activity names, you know the times, you need to get this one. You probably know the normal cost as well, and you need to get this one. These are the things that we got to gather from the company. And this one that I blocked that one is crash cost per week. And how do I find it? Well, it was normally 10,000 for activity A we're speaking. When I crash it, it's 14,000, 4,000, right? I need 4,000. Well, what's the crash per week then? 4,000 divided by 2, it's 2,000, right? Let's check B. How many weeks am I saving? 1 week. How much money am I spending to save 1 week? 12,500. So what's my cost per week? It's 12,500. Where do we start? Now with all this data, I think you have enough information to tell your CEO where to start. C is not critical. Yeah, that's the answer. C is not critical. You can, you can, but if you tell your CEO to start with C, you're going to be fired. You can still crash if you have money, right? So where do we start? From A. Next, where do we go from A? F. Where do we go from F? E. Where do we go from E? Okay. Where do we go from B? I would check as I go. I would check if they are still in the critical path, on the critical path. Well, they will be probably. Personally, I would not suggest my CEO going for C and D. What is the reason that I'm doing this? Why should you never say CEO to crash C and D? Normally, my recommendation is always advise the positive things. When I say negative things to my students, for example, we can if we want, and the activities will be shortened. Yes, we will see an impact in the activities. If he asked me to complete the project earlier, I did everything, and C and D, I can still do it, but it's not impacting my project duration. So it's not answering his question. Why do I spend the company money if it's not helping me? So can we plot this? It's fun to plot this. Okay. So normal operations, this cost us $120,000, and let's say we're in the 15th week right now, or this is, yeah, only look at the normal operations. So normal operations cost is 120,000, which is basically, if you add those things up, that's 120. Okay. So I plotted that one for you. So where do we start? This is the 23rd week, right? Which I am assuming we calculated the project will be delivered. Now my CEO is pushing me to, hey, I have money. Help me spend this money and help me deliver the project earlier. Okay. Okay. So the first thing we tell him, let's crash A because it's the cheapest. We still save 2 weeks. If he says, he can say, I have more money, or he can say, I need to be delivered quicker. Okay, boss, then let's go with F because F is cheaper too. And also it saves us some time. Are you happy with 18 weeks and possibly $135,000? If he says, no, I need more time and I have money, then let's crash E. If he still wants to go, let's crash B. Although it's the most expensive and it saves only 1 week, well, he needs it, so he will pay for it. Okay. So minimum cost total crash is $160,000. Where's C and D? There's no C and D. I can do it. If I crash all activities, I will spend more money, like here. The cost will increase, but the time will remain constant. The project duration will remain constant. So why do I spend companies' money? Unless they want to crash that C or D and get the designer loosened there, like get that designer from there because it's completed later and put her somewhere else. That may be a legitimate reason, but we're not addressing the project duration. If they need to complete for whatever reason, then we can do it, but it's not impacting our project time here. But it's increasing my cost. Okay, what does this graph tell you? We already talked about it. It tells us a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. If I have this slide and explain this in 2 minutes to my CEO, he will just tell me, yeah, this is great. I mean, that's the whole entire picture. Let's start with A, and then we will start, right? We don't need any delayed decision. Okay. So just one more thing before you go. Why are we doing all these things? Because we are moving forward, because we need to update the plan, because we need to consider risks. And we will start 2 or 3 sessions about how to think of risks in a project environment, because doing all these things are risky and we got to understand what's happening. You basically completed the overall picture of how a project is run, and then we will talk about risk. Now you know how to kick off the meeting. What is the process? What's WBS? What's PERT? What's the schedule? How can we update the schedule? How can we add activities, delete activities? How can we deliver it quicker? How should we think of the money, the cost?